Good morning, everybody. My name is Matthew Negron. I am the Morristown City Center Director, but today I am going to be a panelist and I'm going to hand over the reins to Ryan, who is from Gensler, and he's going to help out with asking all the wonderful questions and introducing all of our panelists for today. So I want to hand it over to you, Ryan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. As Matthew said, I'm Ryan Head from Gensler, and today we're going to cover the topic we're calling the new. And we have a series of questions that we're going to pose to the panelists to discuss, and they jump around from specific topic to different topics, but they generally focus around two major themes, which are new ways of working in the office environment, going back to the office, new protocols and ideas around workplace. And the second grouping of ideas is new materials, new design ideas, new ways of working between clients and manufacturers and interior designers. So we'll kind of hit those two broad topics as we go through the questions. So I'd like to have the panelists introduce themselves. Who would like to go first? Mark, do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Adam, and I'm the facility director at Reckitt. Newly rebranded, in case you can't see behind me here, like everybody else. We were rebranded last week, but I oversee the hard and soft services at our headquarters in North America, which is resides in Parsippany, New Jersey, in a leased space of about 200,000 square feet.
How about Tara? Would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Ryan. I'm Tara Armas. I work for CBRE in workplace strategy, and I am on the Novartis account. Previously Novartis employee. I've been there for about 15 years. And right now we are working on densifying our US headquarters in East Hanover, New Jersey, and working diligently to implement an ABW workplace with a twist, choice with responsibility, and really fostering more coming to the campus for mostly collaborative use and events. And I'm happy to join you guys today.
Thanks for joining us. Dan, how about you introduce yourself next?
Good morning. My name is Dan Beck. I'm the Executive Vice President for Bravo Building Services. We provide janitorial solutions as well as mechanical solutions in 17 different states. We manage over 100 million square feet every single day. So thank you very much for having me part of the panel.
Great, thank you. And Matthew.
Good morning, everybody. So aside from IIDA, I'm the president of Dauphin, which is a contract furniture manufacturing company based out of Boonton, New Jersey. And I am responsible for basically United States, Canada, and Latin America.
Great. So I think we have a good range of manufacturer, vendor rep to facilities management, and actually people working in spaces. So I think we have a good group of panelists here. So the first question we'd like to pose to you is, how do you see manufacturers and vendors, or the companies you work for, working with interior designers going forward? Has anything evolved over the past year that you think will be the new approach to working between your companies and the interior designers on our end? And whoever wants to jump in first, please feel free. Oh, go ahead.
I'll go. Yeah, we spend a lot of time on this and working with our design partners such as Gensler and other firms to really glean from them their experience and also their creative aspect as to what types of new settings in terms of furniture and more open and collaborative design in terms of a floor plan to really engage our associates and bring them back to the campus when they need to be back, and getting as much as they can out of those experiences so that their time is well spent. And a lot of it is asking designers what creative and new ways can we plan a floor plan away from the traditional ownership of a desk and real estate, and sort of embracing those new design functions and creativity in a workplace, to really get the users engaged and excited about coming back to the office and working in new ways.
All right, I'll jump in. I think we'll continue to have, for lack of a better word, that kind of triangle between the designers, interior decorators, the furniture providers, and the customer, if you would, like a company like mine, Reckitt. I think some companies will more or less stay on the tracks that they're comfortable with, but I think what we're going to see is just a better overall collaboration. So partnership and collaboration is key. And I think Tara hit on a nerve, at least for me, is kind of asking that question, what's going to really bring people back to the office? Our company, for one, really we have not returned to the office. So other than an R&D center or a plant, where obviously we need to produce. And I think collaboration is going to be a key point. And Tara tipped it off already. It's going to bring people back because there's only so much you can do virtually, and B, we're human. We're human animals. We're socialistic. We're social beings. So we want that kind of interaction, and I think that's going to be key in the design, as well as the manufacturing and the product delivery, and how people look to kind of reinvent at least sections of the office. Dan, go ahead.
Oh, you're still on mute, Dan.
Dan, you're muted.
Yeah, I see that. Unfortunately, that bar spacer that we just learned to use didn't work for me.
Oh, no.
In any case, design is super important for us because we're the cleaning company, and we have to clean what you design. And all too often, sometimes it's not always the best surfaces or the best products, and would love to see and hope to see more collaboration around that for us, especially what we're finding when we're doing any kind of disinfecting and the harsh chemicals that are required now to use. It's actually causing damage to the furniture, right? So I hope to see that we get to partner more with our clients, more with the suppliers, to make sure that the right equipment or the right surfaces are being used, that this way we can clean them properly, at the same time make folks feel comfortable. Like I said, we've seen desktops starting to fade because we're disinfecting every single day. And those are some of the requirements, and I guess we'll speak a little bit more about that later. Can those products actually be able to handle these harsh chemicals? So I think there needs to be some collaboration around that. And then also the other big thing is that technology in my world is starting to become larger. Autonomous robots are being used, right? And so how the layout is set up is important. So by having robots and things like that, you have less people in the building, right? Which is good, right? Because that prevents, anyone helps with social distancing, right? So so these utilizing this equipment makes a huge savings for everyone, but it can't be used when there's a lot of turns and corners and little nooks and crannies, I guess you can say. So I look forward to being able to partner more with our clients and vendors in doing that as well. So thanks. Matt.
So I look at the question a little bit differently. It's, basically how do you work with interior designers? And for me, maybe it's more that sales side of that when I work there. And I see it more as you have to be amenable to how each firm wants to kind of work with you, whether it's digital, physical. And I think that's going to be the challenge the next year for a lot of end users, even manufacturers, vendors. I think all of us, it's kind of working within the constraints that are given to us, and you have to be flexible and be willing to have the physical tools at the current time, and then you also need the digital tools that you need immediately. And if your company's not setting you up for success, you're less likely to be able to provide a quality experience, quality service, also being able to just collaborate, being comfortable being on Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, whatever it happens to be, because every company has a different technology that's throwing at you. And it's almost on a day-to-day basis. It's like, okay, what's the new technology that's being thrown out? And I always hear the word virtual being used, and in my mind, it's gone from more virtual than to digital engagement. And I think the question is what is that form of digital engagement that's going to be used? And I think from the manufacturer side, we could still be very impactful to the interior design community with the right digital engagement, with the right tools, with giving you guys the right mediums of whether it's samples, physical product, whatever you guys need. It's really on us to start pioneering that and adapting. And I think a lot of the design firms across the country have done a great job of saying, this is how we're doing business right now. This is how we're working. So I don't think there's any hidden roadmap. I think a lot of it's right there. And there's also opportunity to pioneer as well and to explore. So I just see it's working in those different mediums.
Great, thank you. That was a great feedback from you all. And I think developing off of that, our second question that we want to pose to you is about new products. You've spoken about, potentially the use of robots and the new types of materials that are easier to clean or can take the cleaning of them more successfully than the current products we have. Are there ways that we can not convince, but get clients to purchase new products or new materials that don't necessarily have the history or a track record of use by them? What sorts of ways can we help end users and clients feel comfortable in these kind of new products and new choices that we're suggesting as interior designers that they use?
I'll kick this
Sure.
one off.
Sure.
Well, the best way for us and what we've been doing is, piloting and testing the surfaces now that we've found out that there's problems that we're finding, right? And it's very costly to the end user, to the client. We're starting to just do a little pilot. So first, if the client says to us, hey, we want to disinfect every desk every single day, which is what's happening, we said, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of days, a week, and we're going to clean this one spot, constantly. Or as another example, with a robot, let's just say, right, we'll test it out on a certain section of the building to see how it's performing and see if it's going to deliver on what the cleanliness and what the client is looking for. We're using other technology as well, things like QR codes, and we'll probably talk more about that later on, but we're using that as well, but we're testing it again, just in a small section of the building to make sure that the client feels comfortable and then that they like it, right? We're doing it at no cost, right? We're not, charging the client to do a pilot. And then, we work and let them make the decision on what they want to do going forward. But the best way is to test the material, pilot, any kind of new technology so that there's no real impact to the client, and then it becomes more acceptable.
Great. That's a great idea.
To Dan,
go ahead.
To Dan's point, I think a lot of it is proper testing, because even though it's a new product or something that's hasn't been on the market before, you can still do your due diligence to actually have it vetted out, have it tested, give it trial runs. You can always do lab testing as well in order to vet it out. And there is different certifications on the market. We talked about their sustainability certifications. There's BIFMA certification that you can do. There's all different kind of certifications that you can go through and really push the product and make sure that it's kind of got, it's gone through its own track record to some extent before it's really made to the market. And I think that just adds a lot more substance to the product then, because when you present it, it's like, here's a certificate, it's been tested, this is the lab, this is where it's been used for. And then I do like the idea with like Dan said, like you can do a pilot program, you can partner with, a few end users and say, hey, would you guys mind testing this? This is a new product that we're releasing, even design firms. And I think everyone loves to give it an opinion, which is great in our industry. because you can really provide them with something, and they will give you honest, transparent feedback. There's no one, I think, on this market that won't give you that feedback that you're really seeking, and they'll push you and they'll force you to change. They'll make you adapt and for the better.
Interesting. Does it, Mark, feel free. You're still muted too. There you go.
I don't know why. My tech decided not to work. It disengaged. I'm going to hit on two themes that are kind of not so tech focused, and that is the old school change management. You know, because if you're talking about making people feel comfortable in the office and/or coming back to the office, you got to have a solid change management plan, and some of that is as easy as communicating often and being transparent and setting expectations. I think another piece of that too is what I'm going to call empowerment. We're fortunate enough as the makers of Lysol to supply things right on the desktop. So right on the desktop, we're putting wipes and sanitizers and creating this kind of self-empowerment mentality and policy where we're asking people to clean before and after use any workstation, any hoteling workstation or common area that they're going to be using, whether it be a cafe or a collaboration table or things like that. So I just thought I'd mix it up and throw that in as another variable.
I think that leads into our next question pretty well, because it's sort of what you're talking about now, which are sort of what processes or new ideas are changing within your company to become pandemic proof going forward. And it's sort of, you hit on that first topic pretty well, but I was wondering if anyone else had other ways your companies are becoming implementing processes that might help become pandemic proof in the future. Tara?
Yeah, I think what I'm seeing at Novartis is a huge campaign to get people to take more responsibility for their own health and cleanliness and, you know, how they interact with people. And I think in the near future, we're going to still need to focus on that for a while. And if that means, you know, wearing a mask more often and definitely cleaning up after yourself, there's wipes and sanitizer everywhere on campus. And we haven't even reopened yet, but the preparedness and the communications going out is to get people thinking about it more often than we used to because of where we are in this day and age. And I think that will continue over the next months, years maybe, just to make people more aware and more conscious about how they interact and whether or not they're sick or germs, just having that be more forward thinking than we used to.
Mm.
And sometimes it's little things. Like I put these little door openers on the back of the bathroom doors, and it's a little gadget, 2 screws, and you basically are able to open the door with your foot, so you're not touching anything. Little stuff like that, just I think even psychologically helps people get them in a better place of saying, hey, yeah, the company's taking more effort here to make things touchless and more hygienic.
Mm.
Yeah, same. I mean, touchless is key. You know, in the beginning, it was just, you know, everyone knows how crazy it was to get product, right? You couldn't even get paper towels and toilet paper. But at the same time, everyone was like, I need touchless, you know, paper dispensers. I need touchless soap dispensers, right? As Mark was saying, the little foot grabbers, right, on the bottom of the door, so you can open up, you know, the doors and things like that were all super important, and they're still moving forward, and these things are still happening today. You know, what we're seeing is, you know, in my world, we actually have folks that are wearing different kind of uniforms right? So that this way the end user sees that these individuals are actually disinfecting. They're not the normal day porter or the day cleaner or whatever that may be. This person is dedicated, right? So, and so how do you show them that? We talked about like the QR codes. Now, is that workstation clean? And so what's happening now is that you scan the QR code and it'll say, this was last disinfected yesterday at 5 o'clock. When the employees finish working at that station, they scan it again and they say, I'm done. Now it notifies someone to go take care of that. It's the same thing that's happening in conference rooms. All of these things, those things are being, dispersed to all the end users to let them know that this is what they're doing, so that when they come back to the office, they feel safe. And that's really what it comes down to, right? Is it a clean, safe building? And if they can prove that, then more folks will come back to work. If they can't, then we're going to have problems getting people back into the office. And I'll use like an example. We did one of our clients did a survey out of a campus of it was 4,000 employees. Out of the 4,000, only 300 people said they would come back to work. That's scary, right? Because there's a big loss. So what do we have to do as all of us in this world and facilities, to make folks feel comfortable? And I think a lot of, some of the things that we were just saying will make them feel better, right? It's not packing an entire floor, it's separating floors. Only certain areas might be used. Sometimes closing down entire floors, is happening, what we're seeing. So a lot of that is going to, again, make people feel comfortable about coming back to work.
Being on the smaller office side in terms of our corporate headquarters, I'd say a lot of it is, to Tara's point, it's almost personal accountability, making sure that, we provide everything clean so you can wipe down. But I think there's that, you need to be cognizant of your space and make sure you are taking care of it. There's also a lot that we've been trying to do, and I almost say that we were maybe a little delayed in getting there, but we've been trying to go as cloud-based as possible in order to allow the flexibility of when you need to work from the office, when you need to work from home, but that you're not having issues with workflow and collaborating with your team. So, we're still going through that process right now. It's been a whole year of learning and trying to find the right software and how to do it. But, for instance, we used to have physical phones. In the next few weeks, we'll have a full cloud-based phone system that'll be on your desktop, laptop, and your cell phone. So you can use any of your devices to actually make calls. You're not dependent on where you are. So if you are working from home, you can use your cell phone for that. You can use your laptop. We also took our server, and it was a physical server. We're making it a cloud-based server. So all your files will be accessible at all times. If you're collaborating, you can use it at any point in time. We're putting additional internet. So right now we have one internet provider, but we're putting a backup internet provider in. So if internet does go down by our main provider, you can still access local files if needed, if there's anything left behind in the office. So we're just trying to create it as easy as possible to have access to everything. I think that's what's the most important, is having Zoom, having Teams in place now, as well as we moved from, we had Slack, but then we moved to Microsoft Teams just because it was in the Microsoft ecosystem, and it just provided a little bit more of a seamless transition with working with everyone. So a lot of it, from my perspective, has just been, do you have access to work efficiently and whether you're in the office or you're from home? Because to me, you should be 100% efficient either way. And if we're not giving you those tools, you're going to suffer, and then the company suffers. So that's been a lot of our pandemic proofing, as ensuring that you can work from anywhere. If you can work from the beach or you can work from the office, wherever you would like, and hopefully you can get everything done well.
I'll work from the beach. That sounds good to me.
Get that Wi-Fi installed at the Jersey Shore. I think that's a great way to. I want to talk a little bit more about kind of this return to work, new ideas of returning to work, and particularly, Matthew, what you had started talking about, which was new types of technology or return to work policies that will both get people back to the office, but also allow for that flexibility of people to work from home or from the beach if they want to for the day, depending on their personal situation. So Are there some plans that your companies have been developing to help assist with that flexibility of work setting?
I'll start.
Sure, Tara, thank you.
Definitely, one of the bigger things on this topic is the nomenclature. It's not return to work for us, it's return to the office. And we are trying to drive that home because nobody has stopped working. In fact, we feel like we've been working even more during this, past year. So we're really trying to get the message out or prepare a plan returning to the office and how that could be beneficial for people. And some of the drivers have been definitely technology. How have Novartis's platforms enable us to not only come back to the office and work at the office, we could work anywhere within the office campus. It could be outside, it could be in one of our restaurants or cafes, or we could stay home or work from our beach house if we have one, or lake house. Making sure that our technology is matching those opportunities has been a big part of the plan. Protocol is huge too. And I think with vaccines rolling out and how much more accessible they have been, a lot of communications around that and taking responsibility for, getting your vaccine and, having that level of comfort. So if you do want to come to the office to work, you feel a bit safer. And I think it's again going to be pushed back on the users or the associates and their level of comfort, but just sort of communicating with them that the workplace will be different, and we're physically changing it to have everybody back, and you could use the workplace in a much different way, much better suited for your activities. And if you want to stay home and work, if you're doing heads down or focus work, then stay home and do that. And you have those opportunities to do either or. But we're going to set up the campus and your workplace to complement that.
That's another good point that Tara just mentioned too, is the home office, because I think what we're going to see, and we're already seeing in our company, is better accommodations and allowances for home office. For me, that's a cost-efficient ergonomic solution for a home office, something that's flexible, that would allow for some kind of sit-stand operation, possibly a laptop holder and an ergonomic chair, but not your $500+ office chair. So, this is where it gets interesting. And again, for opportunity, but to Tara's point, home office is key. We all hear the term, the hybrid workforce, and to me, that talks to location. And I think that's going to be key. I don't know that companies are going to be as hard fast as what Google did last fall to say, no, we're opening in September and you're going to be in the office 3 days a week. And I love Tara's nomenclature, return to office. It drives it home. So to me, the two terms I always latch onto are flexible and agile. I don't care if you're talking about the office and being able to flex certain areas so that they could change from maybe a team instruction environment to a more of a collaborative environment to, possibly heads down work environment based on the need of the day or the need of the team that's coming in to use the office that day. And you can use that also for talking to hybrid itself. You should be flexible. Some people work better at home. They can be more efficient at home. And in general, we all can, because you're saving time on commuting. You can actually do more heads down work if you have that environment at home. Some people can't domestically do that. But I think you have to start asking those business questions of not only how efficient are you, but how productive you're being. So, depending what team you work on and how they work, mixed in with your style and your conditions, those are the results the business is going to look for. If you're working on a key, let's say, marketing or sales team that really thrives on entrepreneurship and those in-person interactions, there may be a real case for getting back to the office more often to spur that kind of productivity, just not efficiency. So I'll on that note, I'll let it go to Dan or Matthew.
Yeah, Dan or Matt, if you have any.
Sure. I'll excuse me. I'll add to that. You know, one of the things that our clients are doing is they're making a name, right? They're calling it something. One client is calling it the Great Return, and they're doing marketing around it, right? Building excitement around, you know, the return of the employees coming back to work. We're sitting down with our clients, and our clients are sitting down with us and all of their vendors. And what is it going to look like? 10%, 25%, 50%, 100% occupancy. What does that actually look like? And what resources are going to be required? Because they're going to need additional resources to be able to actually do a lot of the stuff that they're looking for. So we're sitting down, we're preparing, we're prepping, we're putting programs together to understand what it would look like. You know, in my world, one of the issues that we have is just trying to find people to do the work, right? Big problem, right? Because it's taken, you know, 30, 60 days to find people, because it's easier to be out of work than to be in work in certain, you know, situations. And so, you know, we have to look at that when we're sitting down with the client. What we're seeing also is that, you know, in a large campus, you can only use certain entrances, right? Everything, you can exit every entrance, but everyone has to come in through certain entrances, so that this way everyone is, you know, getting the temperature check, right? Making sure that everyone's wearing, you know, proper PPE when they're coming into the building. We're seeing things like that happening across all of our clients. And one of the other things is just, we talked about inventory management, right? Huge importance, where clients are looking for like 3 months worth of inventory, right? Because they're afraid of what the future might hold, but they don't even have the space to hold the inventory. So when you look at space planning, you have to look at those things. What are they really looking for? So those are some conversations that have to be had, right? Because, you know, each one of us is dependent on the other to do something, right? And, you know, when that certain things aren't available, then, you know, someone else can't do their job. You know, we're seeing things where clients are having their employees wear badges, and the badge lights up when they are within 6 feet of another person, forcing social distancing, right? Very interesting, but this is the kind of stuff that people are talking about, that they're thinking about, right? So that this way they're preparing their, you know, this great return, right? So that's some of the things that we're seeing, and really it's just sitting down and helping the client in all areas of how to, you know, retool their sites so that this way people want to come back to work.
I really hope that light up badge doesn't shock you when you get within 6 feet, because that would not be pleasant.
No, it just changes. It's a green and red.
Okay.
That's all it does. Yeah, they actually had us pilot it. They came to us to pilot that solution, as opposed to us going to them to pilot. So it was pretty cool.
Did you find that sorry, Matthew, did you find that it worked? Was it helpful in keeping your distance?
It did work, you know, because we were you're very, you know, conscious of it, right? It's your badge that you use to swipe to get in and out of all the buildings or wherever you may be going. And then you see the other person lighting up, not only yours, right? So yours is changing color as well as the person next to you, you know? So it's kind of interesting. And I think everyone embraced it, to tell you the truth. It was almost like it was very gimmicky and
like a little game, yeah.
Game, right? And it made it fun, right? And that's important, because that also generates or infuses, you know, innovation, right? Innovation within the building, and that's what's missing when you just do Zoom meetings, right? You're missing a lot of innovation, and that's what, you know, having people come back to work and having this, you know, 3 days, 2 days, flex schedules and things like that. You need a good balance, you know, for the organization to be successful, and how you design that is super important, because that's going to enforce and push, that those conversations for innovation.
So I really resonate with Tara when she had mentioned return to office more than return to work, because it's like, what have we been doing this whole time? It's like, we've been working, I promise. Like, it's things have been happening. But I think that brings up even something that popped out of my head as she was talking, was it's almost resetting boundaries to some extent, because I feel like too many people became too accessible at home, and we almost lost that work-life balance to some extent, because now you're working till 6, 7, 8, 9, or you're responding to emails. And I think it's on companies to reset their culture and find ways to ensure, like, listen, if you're working from home or the office, you still have boundaries, you still have your work-life balance, you have your personal life. And I think that's going to be a hard thing to reestablish, because mentally we're so in the zone right now that you might not be able to just turn it off and flip it off like a switch. So I think companies need to go and reinforce it. They need to really have a conversation, whether it's a town hall, whether it's virtual. But I think that's a huge thing that is missing in a lot of conversations right now is those boundaries. And you're seeing a lot of burnout, and that burnout's not going to stop anytime soon. It's just going to exponentially grow. And I feel like a lot of people were just grateful for a while to have a job. And it's like, well, now people are hiring, people are back in the workforce, people are going. And now, it's like that thankful mode. And it's like, how do you get out of it and get back to, I want to enjoy time with my family, my kids, my pets, like whatever it is, you want to go to the gym, like it's okay, like to go and do those things. And I know we've been trying to softly start messaging that out, and we still need to do like a full message on our expectations, but we've at least been trying to have that conversation with everyone, and even talk about, we're looking at more of like a 32 work week going forward in the future, not right now, but sometime in the future. And the general conversation has been those 3 work days should be more for team meetings, collaboration, working with other departments, and your 2 days of working from home should be optional when you want to work from home, but it's more for, like Tara said, focus work, heads down work. Like that's the day that you really need to maybe you're doing like, a design, and you really just need to hone in, and you don't need any outside forces interrupting you or anybody stopping by your desk. And I think just providing that gives mental peace of mind, because it's like, okay, I can work from home, work on this project, do what I need to do. So I think it's going to be a lot of that. And then I also think it's the technology you're providing, and not just technology, but also like, what are you giving to make them feel safe? Because if they don't feel good in the space, and we're looking, Dauphin, we came out with a patented like ionization system during this, and now we have a version we came out with that goes on your desk. It's like all of our employees should get that. Like it should be, you get an ionization system that's cleaning the air, it's cleaning your space. It's not just cleaning the air, but it's also cleaning your physical work surface and everything around it. So it's helping, at least in your, it's literally helping, but at the same time, it's providing peace of mind, because I feel like those kind of things start weighing on you. If all day you're worried about whether I feel safe or not, you're going to be less productive in the workplace. So I think it's not a straightforward solution. I think it's a combination of everything that we're kind of saying, and finding what works for your company and your culture.
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback on 2 things Matt said. First of all, work-life separation, let's be honest, it's work-life integration. I'm just going to change the word outright. Like Tara, if we're going to return to the office, it's life-work integration, because let's be honest, people, depending on their domestic situation, they're going to handle it differently. But to Matt's point too, you need those kind of boundaries, because you can't, if you decide to start working at 9 at night because you needed to feed the kids and make sure they got their homework done, then, you can't be having a Zoom meeting with your team at 9 at night. So, it's kind of vetting out those things. I think another key thing for me is, I'll just put a big blanket on it and call it metrics, but it's how does your company define success, right? It's like, what are the outcomes that we're looking for, and how are we going to achieve them in this new hybrid workplace? And I think that's key, because, when you start looking at what that return to office is serving, is if it's just going to be, if you're saying, oh, well, half the population is going to be head down work, and they start coming there and like, why am I coming to the office for heads down work? I'll just do that at home and be more efficient, right? So, it's that kind of weighing out of what is the new purpose and metric that's going to drive that return to the office, and what's that look like? What kind of capacity do you need? Do you need to space people out and increase space in areas, or are you going to have less than half the population in any way and decrease space? That's all those kind of things that companies are kind of vetting through now, and I think they will continue to. But I wanted to throw in that whole metric word too, because I don't care if you're measuring your cleaning efficiency, and in even some of these new technologies that Matt touched on, I think I'll say this, it's a toolbox, right? There's no silver bullet. You know, peace of mind of seeing those people cleaning the hot spots and going around and hitting all those high touch points is huge. You know, where do you draw that line? Do you need that tech to say, I scanned this QR code and I know exactly when it was cleaned? You know, does that give people a better peace of mind? And those are the kind of things that companies will look at. What's their most value, and how are they going to have people kind of have that mentality of feeling safe and being productive? Because at the end of the day, it's a business. What are the outcomes? How are we measuring that? And what's the best mix for success of the company? While keeping, of course, their employees' health and safety paramount.
Great. I was also wondering, kind of leading into our next question. It kind of continues some of the topics that you were talking about, but I want to know how your companies might plan for changes in the future. That could be the usage of space, it could be technology, it could be how you manufacture or develop products. So I was wondering, first, if we could go to Tara, if you could talk a little bit about, you mentioned Novartis's plan to develop or to rework some of your campus. Are there ways that you're planning in adaptability and future evolution of the space now that you're investing that money and resources now? Are there ways that you're hedging your bet for the future that you can adapt it to all your changing needs?
Yeah, in some ways, I think a lot of it has been with the amenities, sort of the conferencing and event spaces that we've designed. We've kind of left it more versatile so that we could, we could pivot and kind of change with workplace as this whole new evolves. But also the actual upper floors, if you will, and the workplace. You know, we've used a lot of products where we're not constructing rooms. It's more versatile rooms that we're utilizing, so we can change around the floor plate as things evolve. We're using more soft seating settings, so it's less permanent work settings that we're developing on our floor plates, so that as things change, as the business changes, as we might restack and move people around from building to building, that will be easier for us in the future. And we'll have that flexibility, because I think a lot of how we work is going to evolve quickly. And it has over the past year, we've seen that. But I think that it will continue to do so, especially with technology, and how I think that will begin to ramp up even more to make our lives easier in this new way of working. We've kind of designed our workspace to fit into that, so that we're not stuck with, one constructed way of working, if you will. We've kind of leaned more on furniture to create those spaces, and it's easily moved around if we need to.
That's great. Now I'll open it up to the other panelists. If you have any thoughts on this idea of evolution and flexibility of products and space.
A lot of, sorry, Dan, you want to go first? Or okay.
Nope. Go right ahead, Matt.
A lot of what we've been focused on as a manufacturer is product development and what we could do. So like one thing that we did is we took one of our poly shell chairs and we introduced micro silver. So micro silver has been around in like dental equipment and medical equipment for over 50 years, but it's never really been used in furniture. So we took that same technology and we actually embedded it within the poly of the chair. So what it does is when bacteria, virus, or fungi comes in contact with it, it kills about 60% of those pathogens that are coming in immediate contact. So if you can't wipe down a space every day, it's a cafe area, whatever it happens to be, it's continually just killing those viruses and pathogens that are coming in contact. So that was something that we did during the beginning of the pandemic, was just how do we help out in different ways? And then you can still put like a upholstered seat pad on if you wanted to. So then we started talking to our our graded partners and saying, hey, what kind of antimicrobial vinyls do you have? What do you recommend? So it was even just starting then to come up with like the right carding programs and finding the right fabrics, because even though we're not a fabric manufacturer, it's having the right knowledge and information to help guide your clients. Because at the end of the day, the end users and interior designers that we work with, they're relying on us for almost consultative services and how can we help and guide and what information can we give and share with them. So that's been a lot of what we've been doing. And then to Tara's point, she's talking about these, basically I call them flexible build outs rather than traditional build outs. We're using, because traditionally designers and users would use like sound attenuation glass, they would use drywall, they would have to do HVAC and lighting, and there's a lot that goes into it. And then if you get a general contractor involved, you're talking a 3% fee plus carpenters, and it gets very, very expensive. You're talking like a 10 by 10 room in New York, New Jersey could easily cost you 80,000 to 110,000 on cost after you break those all out. And, you know, for us, we've been doing these pop-up room and rooms and pods and different things. And essentially, like, you know, our pop-up room is a 10 by 10 as well, or it could be multiple sizes, but they go up at half the cost. But what we did was before the pandemic, and we kept innovating it during the pandemic to get it out faster, was we came out with this ionization system. So it's actually built into the room. So what it does is it neutralizes all viruses, pathogens. It also actually, we tested on influenza, and we even tested it on different strains of coronavirus and had 99% success of neutralizing all of it. So now what you could do when you're returning to the office is you're telling me you need space delineation. You want to be able to make people feel safe. You want private offices, conference rooms. You can order these in essentially all different sizes from 7 by 7. We're doing one right now for a client. We're doing 3 13 by 26 foot rooms for large conferences. And we're putting it's called Ion Cloud. And we're putting this Ion Cloud technology into these rooms, and it's all plug and play. There's no wiring that needs to be done, but it fully pops up and it's completely disinfecting not just the air, but it's also disinfecting all the surfaces. So it's really providing like a different element for us. And this is something we've really been trying to push during the pandemic, but thankfully we were working on it pre-pandemic and we were able to accelerate it when it happened, because we weren't planning on a pandemic happening, but it did occur. And we kind of had the technology in our back pocket to really just push it forward. And we're seeing a lot of good conversations around it now. So that's from the manufacturer perspective of product development.
Yeah, I'll chime in again a little bit. To me, I kind of outlined in my head 4 main buckets if you're talking design and parameters for the office. One is, you've heard us hit on it repeatedly, is it's got to be flexible and agile. Whether it's a divisible room where you can make it larger, smaller, maybe some tech on carts, rolling screens that you can use and roll in different positions depending on the setup of the room. Battery trays, right? It's another one, because you can't be moving all these desks around and expect to plug them in unless you spent a gazillion dollars on a flexible plug-in floor plan or a raised floor. So battery packs are an easy solution where people could swap out and then you recharge the carts at night with all the battery trays. So flexibility and agile, and I'm just going to hit them very high, obviously. Cleanability, we've hit on that repeatedly. I think there's an added focus on that for obvious reasons, and Matt and Dan have expanded on that quite nicely. And then 2 old ones that are cost effective, right? Especially if people are kind of feeling out where they're going, they're not going to want to spend and get high level stuff. It has to be functional and it has to be robust, but it can't be high end stuff. So to me, cost effective is going to be key, and sustainability, because that's, let's face it, never going away. People are still going to have an attention on how green it is. You know, there's carpet manufacturers out there that are saying now they have carpet tiles that are negative carbon. You know, so again, I just use it as an example. So to me, those 4 buckets are key. 2 are a little more focused, flexibility and agility, as well as cleanability. And then 2 old ones that will continue to be a focus as far as cost and cost effectiveness, and also sustainability.
Anything you want to add, Dan? Or
Nope, I have nothing
okay.
to
All right, good. Just making sure.
Yep, thank you.
I had 2 questions left. One of them we talked, I think pretty well about, which was making people safe coming back to the office. I think you guys have hit on that topic pretty well. So I kind of want to hit with probably this last question, which would be, what are designers and users or end users looking for as a qualification for a new product. Is there something, do you have a go-to source that fits a checklist of requirements that you would want to see implemented in the space or a product? And what sort of qualifications around product selection might be important to you going forward?
I feel like designers tend to have their own checklist, and every end user has like their own kind of go-to checklist. So I think it does vary, and you have to be flexible. I know we already did a coffee talk on sustainability, but I feel like that's the hot checklist right now, is I've seen from multiple design firms, and they've done a really good job of kind of detailing those sustainability requirements they're looking for, whether it's BIFMA level, VOC, Green Guard, whatever they're looking for. They're doing a really good job of actually just providing a full spreadsheet matrix of you need to kind of hit these different things or hit them as high as you can. And before, it used to be a lot of, hey, we're trying to go for LEED certification. And now, the conversation diverted to LEED and WELL or WELL. And now I feel like it's just not even about LEED or WELL anymore. Now it's just about, you have to hit this checklist because we want to have a better building. We want to have a safer environment. It's just the expectation. So I think that dialogue and conversation has changed a lot more, as companies are taking their own stance versus just following a standard that's on the market. So you kind of have to be prepared to be flexible and pivot at any point in time. And I think it's just going to your interior designer, having that open dialogue and ahead of time. Don't wait until they contacted you in 3, 4, 5, 6 months later. Like, hey, so what specifications are you really looking for? It's have that conversation up front. Say, provide us the information now. Let me do my due diligence. Let's work on it. So I feel like if you just ask, they'll give you more of what they're looking for on that checklist, aside from just standard certifications that are on the market right now.
Yeah, I think industry standards is definitely something that we look at Novartis for sure, but it's also trusting our partners in the industry, and we lean heavily on tried and true. So if we know other companies are utilizing a product and they've had success with it, then a lot of times, as long as it's economical for us, that's enough for us. And sometimes we even try products that don't have a lot of that information if we feel that it's a good fit for our particular project. But yeah, I think relying heavily on and trusting our partners on information on products that are out there.
And for us, we are following CDC guidelines. And we're revising scopes for our clients, those checklists that our staff would normally use. Again, we're following the guidelines based off of what the CDC is recommending when it comes to having a safe building. And it's pretty straightforward, but we are looking at multi-types of products, multi-use products that can do both. But at the end of the day, we are following those guidelines.
Feeling pretty good.
Kind of semi-related, but I'll put in a pragmatic approach, if you would, and that is pilot an area. Pick an area to get the buy-in from management that you want to try an area. If you're going to evolve the workplace and you think you can kind of make it more engaging, healthy, better for your employees, pilot an area. Come up with a plan, use your designers, use your suppliers, and come up with a plan that you think will better fit this new, and try it and measure it. Make sure you measure it. Make sure you're showing how it worked and how it didn't work. So you can go back again and in a concrete way, the most concrete way you can, at least show metrics and outcomes to that pilot and what worked and what didn't. And I think that'll really help bring it forward, because we don't know what we don't know. I mean, especially my company hasn't returned to work. So to say, oh, this is the new, here's our template, just blank card, let's do it. Again, I take a more pragmatic approach that says, hey, let's pilot this, let's learn from it, continue to learn from it, and then see how we improve it and what works best for our company.
All right, great. I think that we have come to the end of our discussion here, but I think we've had some really good insights from you panelists on these new concepts that we can take forward with us as we hopefully go back to the office soon. We're still working. So thanks for all your insights and valuable information that you've shared with us today. And also thanks to all of the participants who have joined us. I hope you enjoyed the talk here. I think that's the end of our time together.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks,
everybody.
Well,
Ryan.
very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Have a
You're
great day.
Have a good
Stay
one.
safe.
Stay
Take
safe.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.